Hello and welcome to Smart Systems. Hopefully you can hear me fine. Um, we thank you for joining us today. Just a few quick notes on the format and the ground rules. Those of you who have attended our events in the past know that we value your time, and so we try to give you as much quality information as possible in the half hour that we have together each week. So what we're looking at is a 20-minute presentation followed by a 10-minute Q&A, give or take. We're going to keep the microphones muted for everybody, but please feel free to use the chat function and feel free to use that at any time during the event. We will hold off on answering the questions until after the presentation, but that's what we'll start with, is any questions that will have accumulated in the chat. We do request that you keep your questions closely related to the subject matter at hand. There will be other opportunities to ask other questions on other subjects as we present future webinars. We make an honest effort to answer all the questions or as many questions as possible that come up during these events. However, if your question remains unanswered, rest assured that we'll get to you. We'll open a support ticket and an engineer will be in touch ASAP. We do an internal review of the chat log immediately after each webinar to make sure that we catch each and every question and concern and follow up. So again, if you don't hear an answer to your specific question during the Q&A, rest assured that someone will get back to you ASAP. This is a weekly event. As most of you know, we host an online session like this every Wednesday at this time. You'll receive a separate invitation each week, and we also plan to have in-person meetings during the Clean Show in Atlanta in just a few short weeks here. Please note that the meeting is being recorded so we can better serve you and improve our quality of service and support. And lastly, in that same spirit of continually improving our service, we are open to feedback and suggestions. Please note you'll be receiving a brief survey right after the webinar. It'll only take you a couple of minutes to go through and help us help you make these events better. You are also welcome to email us at webinars@smartsystems.com. That's webinars, plural, at smrtsystems.com. We've already received a whole lot of helpful suggestions from you after the last two events. So we have implemented those, and we hope to get more feedback from you as time goes on. So with all that said, let me introduce Parker Durink. She is our marketing director. She will tell you what to expect today, and she'll also introduce our keynote speaker. Parker.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. And again, thank you for joining our Routes 102 webinar. Today, we're going to be discussing customization features. So we're going to be looking at will call and route regular customization. We'll also transition through, and at the end, we're going to touch on some website user interface to transition us into next week's Route 103s, which will be going over the mobile and website features as well. So today, Chris, again, will be joining you, and he'll be walking you through Route 102.
Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you today about some different features and some settings that you guys could be using in your route configurations and your setups. And then hopefully after this, you might run into some questions. You might want to rethink some configuration techniques and anything else that we might run into. You can feel free to ask me in the chat and we'll track those questions down and try to respond to you at the end of this conversation and as accurate as possible. So I'm going to actually start by sharing my screen. All right, so we all know the home screen of the POS. The first thing that we're going to do today, because we're going to deal a lot with configuration, Within that configuration, we're always going to start into the settings, and you should see it here. You might see a little circle over my mouse. So you're going to go into settings. The next step was going to go into business settings. After business settings, we're going to hit system settings. And then you'll see all these different setting types. Right now, today, we'll focus on company settings. In company settings is where we'll be staying for the most part or the duration of this conversation or this webinar. So the first thing I want to kind of talk about is going to be just will call customers and kind of a little bit about their setup and their configurations. The first setting we want to discuss is scheduling will calls deliveries after assembly. So if you know you have will call customers, a lot of the times, if this setting is not turned on, in order for those will call customers to show up on a manifest, they have to have their orders racked in order to generate a delivery stop. This setting will actually allow you to only have to assemble the orders for that will call customer. Once you assemble that will call customer, the stop would be generated. And then that way, that customer shows up on the manifest. So the benefits of actually having this turned on is sometimes you might miss will call customers' bags if it wasn't racked or if it was placed on the wrong rail or something like that. And at least if it has been assembled, then it will trigger a delivery and your drivers will see that they should have something for that will call customer and they don't have it. And it avoids you having to double back to the store, picking up bags that should have already been out on the route, that sort of thing. So it's a really cool and beneficial feature for those people who are actually using assembly. It's just something to keep an eye on. The next case, and this will really work for people using assembly and not using assembly. This schedule will call customers or it will call deliveries on due date. So for instance, if you have a Thursday, Monday route and you pick those clothes up on Thursday, the due date, if you don't have a due date configuration, let's say the due date is a Tuesday instead. If you have an on-demand route and that delivery is set for Tuesday, that customer can be set on that on-demand route outside of its own normal route. So it's just a setting that allows you to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to doing deliveries for route regulars or will call customers, especially will call customers. Outside of that, the next setting that I want to go over, and we're just going to kind of go down this line here. You'll see a bunch of settings and features that are very useful. The next one is going to be this feature or this setting here. Don't include orders in delivery lists before their due date. When orders that finish prior to their due date, by default, included in they basically are included in the delivery manifest. So if they're finished before they're ready, before their due date, they're included in the manifest. But in some cases, you don't want to deliver to the customer early. You want to make sure that those orders don't show up in the delivery manifest. We want to make sure we don't include those orders in that manifest. Then we want to make sure that we turn this setting on and that it will allow you to do that. So after that, the next thing on the same list here, the next thing I kind of want to talk about is going down this little row for a second. Is going to be show the sub routes on delivery stop. So essentially, if you have a master and a sub route, then what it will do is it will show both route names and customer name on the delivery stop schedule. So that way, if you want to, let's say your customer or your driver is doing the route based off of master stops first and then sub stops next or something like that, it just helps them organize and control what's happening. You also have this option. For example, if you, let's say the master stop is a condo and then the sub stops are all the apartments in that condo, then what it will do is it will show you those customers' names. And in this example, let's say we make the condo a will call customer. If the condo is a will call customer, then they'll only see when customers schedule, the only thing they will see is those customers' name that's on the master stop, and then they'll know which apartments to take it to. If they're using apartment numbers, some condos and some apartments really have like a lobby. If they have that lobby area, you don't really need something like this, but for those accounts or those customers that do, you can use this setting. I'm sorry. After this, the show sub route on delivery stop, the next thing you also can use in order to control who gets put on a route and who doesn't, that kind of thing, is automatically adding new customers to a route as will call. So anytime you have new customers signing up on the route via the website, and let's say you don't really have an on-demand route and they're sending in requests, this setting will actually allow you to create like a generic placeholder route. You will put, let's say, test A as that generic placeholder route. Every new customer that signs up on the website that wants a new delivery will be placed on this route. You can then use this route in order to disperse those customers to the actual route they belong to. And then that way it's a less manual process and it's more automatic. So that's a feature you guys want to use if you guys are trying to control who goes on which route and you don't know how to really, you don't want them to not have the ability to be placed on any route, but you also don't want them to be placed on any on-demand route if it's not in their area. So that's one way to control that. The next feature I want to talk about, or the next set of features I want to talk about, is going to be route agent priority and then common order priority or agent. With these two settings, they almost work the same, but the difference is the route agent priority is when it's turned on, the route takes priority over the most recent delivery, right, for the agent on their next order. So if I had a recent order and that order was for route 1, and then I create a new order on that customer account, and let's say I accidentally selected the store because they came in to drop it off, but they're actually a route customer, the system will automatically change that agent for that new order that just came in to whatever the route was. And then that way it helps avoid mistakes, and it's just it's very cohesive, it keeps it clean, and it allows your CSRs room for error because the system will pick up any automations. The next thing is the common order agent. It works similar to the route agent priority, but the common order agent, what it does is if I have an account and let's say I have store 1, 2, if I have 5 orders at store 1, and then I have another order that was set to store 2 for some reason, what the system will try to do, it will try to make all those orders the same agent to avoid having the customer go to multiple stores or avoid having to make multiple payments because they're under different agents, that kind of thing. So this setting really is helpful, especially when it comes to making payments and just keeping track of customer clothing and supplies. So right now, we're currently under the company settings. These company settings can be easily found by going into settings, business settings, system settings, and then just clicking on this company setting tab. The next set of settings that I kind of want to talk about today before we start taking questions is just this customer website tab. On this customer website tab, it's going to control how customers schedule online and how they view the routes online. And this is under your full control. The first thing I want to talk about is going to be allowing sub delivery customers to schedule on the website. In the previous screen, you saw something with the sub accounts and master accounts. So basically this setting is going to allow those sub accounts to actually do their own scheduling. So if it's a condo, each person in that condo can go online using that link that we send out and go ahead and schedule their own stops. And then that way you don't have to set up condos and hotels for for route regulars. And you have a little bit more control about just as far as missed stops, wasting gas. It just helps out with that kind of thing. The next thing is going to be enable pickup in master delivery mode. So enabling pickup in delivery mode is going to basically allow customers to set their pickup date and their delivery date. And this is great, especially if you're a customer that is using mostly will call or just mostly letting the customers kind of make their own schedules and you guys are just running those routes. So this will really allow you to kind of schedule in advance, have less missed stops, and know where you're going before ahead of time. And you already have your next week schedule. Let's say they start my delivery date for 2 weeks out instead of this week. Now you know you can hold that order for at least 2 weeks, change the due date or things like that. So it's very beneficial in keeping that kind of thing kind of cohesive and neat, and especially for your will calls if you're running massive will call routes. The next thing I kind of want to talk about here is the limiting delivery scheduling to the closest route. So it's not quite a geolocation. What it does is you'll be able to set an on-demand route. When you set the on-demand route, you'll be able to drop a pin on a map on the on-demand route. If a customer is scheduling a pickup, right, to that, and it's, let's say, 3 miles away from that pin, it's going to try to schedule them on that route automatically. Instead of scheduling them, let's say, for another route that's 10 miles away or that services a area that's 10 miles out. So this just narrows down which routes they can be put on based off their location in the pin. And then the last thing I want to do here is managing what routes customers are able to join. So basically, you have this setting here at the bottom, which is going to allow either on-demand scheduling. If it's turned off, then customers will always have to send in a request to be added to a route. If it's turned on, like I said, if we set up that will call route that everyone goes to, we can set that up. And if it's turned on, they'll always go to that route. And then you can kind of figure it out from that point. If you don't want to do that, and you do want to focus on getting those requests and kind of just managing it yourself and to be a little bit less manual, we still have something for send notifications for new delivery appointments. So that way, anytime a customer creates a new stop or a new schedule to pick up or delivery on the customer website, you'll get a notification right up here into your little notification center that you can check either in the morning or in the afternoon. And a lot of you are familiar with making channels, so you can make a channel strictly for just route customers or deliveries. And then outside of that, we also have another setting that's going to allow route regulars to schedule on demand. That setting, if you have route regulars and let's say, again, it's a Monday, Thursday route, and I have an on-demand route that runs Monday through Friday, and I don't care, what day my route regulars want me to pick it up, and maybe they schedule a pickup on a Wednesday, and then that pickup will then show up on whatever on-demand route you have running for that day if this setting is turned on. So those are a few settings that we kind of can use just for configuration, customization, and just rearranging how we process and run our routes. If you guys do have questions or comments, I'm open to them right now, and we're all ears.
Thank you, Chris. And we appreciate you going through that with us. We do have one question regarding assembly. So Michael asked us, what if you assemble manually?
It still works. If you're talking about the assemble will call customers after assembly, then it still works the same. So you shouldn't have an issue with it. If you do, just let us know or run it by our support team and we'll take a look into it for you.
Were there any follow-up questions for Chris's answer we'll leave the floor open just for a little bit longer if there are no further questions. Well, thank you guys for joining us today for going over Routes 102. Just so you guys know, again, this is being recorded. All recordings are able to be accessed via our YouTube channel and will be sent to you directly at the end of the webinar as well. We did get one question about special delivery requirements. I believe that this is a question that could be answered by our support team. So we'll go ahead and forward that along and make sure that that question is answered for you as soon as possible. Again, thank you guys for joining. The links to view the webinars are going to be sent out as soon as the videos are edited and finished. And as always, on our YouTube channel, you can see all of our recordings from our previous webinars at any point in time at your earliest convenience or whatever is best for you. So thank you again, Chris, for going over Routes 102. Art, is there anything else that you would like to add today?
No, just to thank everybody who has joined us, remind you that a mercifully brief survey is forthcoming. Please take just a couple of minutes to help us help you with future events. And thanks again so much. We hope to see you next week. Have a great day.